the very idea of inalienable rights. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, the Bible tells us that we are each made in God's image. There's been a lot of talk of late about human rights, but we talk about them with a little bit of flippancy, it seems to me, with a seemingly inconsistent assumption about what rights actually are. On one hand, we speak of basic or fundamental human rights, but then we seem to champion rights that have emerged of late, as if they didn't exist before and are now more fashionable to talk about. What I want to focus on in the few minutes we have together here are rights that are more akin to the fundamental rights. In other words, rights that we have in virtue of our being human, not those rights that trend with human opinion, but are based on human existence. And those are rights that I would argue are considered inalienable. Now, I've written about this in Saving Truth, and I also included an argument similar to what I'm going to say in a debate that I did with the atheist Matt Dillahunty some years ago. Go ahead and look it up on YouTube. I'm sure it's still out there. But as I talk about this concept of inalienable rights, I want to quote from one of the most famous documents that discusses inalienable rights or fundamental rights, and that's the American Declaration of Independence. Now, before I continue, I'm not saying anything particular about America in doing so, but it's the country I grew up in and the one I live in, so I'm familiar with this document. And many other countries and governing bodies have similar sounding language that I could draw from, but I want to draw from the Declaration of Independence, which reads, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are endowed with certain unalienable rights." Now, let's leave the Creator part out of it for just a moment, and I would say this. I venture to guess that everyone watching this or listening to this would say that we do have unalienable rights. We have rights that cannot be alienated from us. An inalienable right is a right that cannot be taken away. Because if it's taken away, then we no longer have it. They can be suppressed, they can be violated, but they're never really taken away. They persist. That's what makes them inalienable. But here's the catch. If a right is given by humanity or a group of humans like a government, then humanity or a group of humans like a government can take those rights away. Do you follow that? That the authority to grant a right is also the authority to remove a right. And if humans grant us rights, and if humans therefore can take them away, then they no longer are inalienable. So they must come from a source beyond humanity or human authority for a right to be fundamental or inalienable. I want to give you a syllogism to help clarify this. Premise one of the syllogism is this: inalienable rights exist only if God exists. Inalienable rights do in fact exist, therefore God exists. Now, even atheists would agree with this, at least some of them do to some degree. I think of powerhouses like J.L. Mackie and Kai Nielsen and Joel Marx. They all agree that moral categories don't exist objectively if there is no God. They're just a matter of fashion of human opinion. In fact, if humans are nothing more than merely complicated or sophisticated chemical machines, as some might say, then we really don't have liberty. And the Declaration, and I think everyone would agree, that we have an inalienable right to liberty. But liberty implies free will. And if we're just complicated machines or sophisticated biochemical systems, all we are is other systems that are bumping into other systems. We act in accordance with our chemical makeup, not based on actual liberty. But liberty is an inalienable right. The whole discussion, in other words, without God, the whole discussion crashes before it even has a chance to launch. But God's existence and the biblical worldview of what kind of a God exists and what He has done in making us actually grounds the very idea of inalienable rights. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, the Bible tells us that we are each made in God's image. Now, God is the grounding of all existence. He is that which makes all existence possible, and that which makes all existence possible, therefore, makes certain things objectively true. What He makes valuable is objectively valuable. What He makes real is objectively real. And what's real is the fact that we bear the image of the one in whom all existence finds its source. And so whatever rights and responsibilities But whatever rights we have are only inalienable. They're only the kind of rights that cannot be taken away by human beings if they come from a transcendent source beyond human beings. In other words, the source of all reality. What I suggest to you is this, that if we are to be a truly free people, we have to understand that true freedom and the right to be truly free exists only if God exists. And He acts as both the source of and restraints on our freedoms. But the inalienability of our rights, rights that cannot be taken away, come only from Him. What I would suggest to you is this, as we are debating, hotly debating, whether certain rights are fundamental rights or not, the very idea of fundamental rights only comes into play. It only makes sense if a being beyond us exists. As we debate the existence of our inalienable rights and what they are, let us not forget that there's a very category of inalienable rights is only there because God Himself is there.